So in Illinois, we have what's called a no-fault state, which means that where often people think that, oh, my spouse cheated on me, or they stole something, or they said something horrible to somebody, or all these things that people normally think would be a cause of a divorce. It's not the case in Illinois. It's a no-fault state, which means that if you don't get along with one another, either party can simply say, we want a divorce, and that's where it goes. So generally in Illinois, assets are divided based upon 14 factors. We're not going to go into every single detail of what those are, but some of them are, for example, the contribution of each party to the marriage. How much did each person apportion to the marriage in terms of their own monetary effort? But also the homemaker, whether it's the dad or the mom, husband or wife, their contribution is seen as equal to that of the person who maybe earns $10 million in a business. So that's an important consideration as well. So alimony in Illinois is called maintenance, right? Which is one of these jargon terms that the law gives to a bunch of these terms that we use on the street. And maintenance is essentially the same thing, which the purpose of maintenance in our state is to make sure that either party, after the marriage is over, has the ability to sustain themselves for years into the future. So if we have one party that takes the majority of the house, for example, and has equity in the house, and they don't receive a monthly payment, and the other person has much more of the income, that would be seen as equitable because maybe one side got more of the overall assets as opposed to the other instead of a payment. If there's no unequal distribution of assets, like one got a lot more, then there would be a monthly payment typically. It's common. So there's an algorithm that the statute uses, a formula which determines, based on the length of the marriage, how much of the marriage will be cut up to determine the time that the alimony is paid. In other words, if there's a marriage that's 20 years or longer, then there can be indefinite maintenance. If there's a marriage that lasted only a few years, then you're going to see something like 1 year of maintenance. So custody is determined by the best interests of the child, which ultimately comes down to the guardian ad litem's recommendation to the court. Court is just a fancy word we use for judge, with regard to which parent should receive custody. So what does all this mean? It means that there's a court-appointed attorney regularly in these cases that has a huge role in recommending to the judge which is the better parent, essentially. So the best interest of the child comes down to things like who has the child been with more, who does the child have a better relationship with, which parent has been consistently responsible for the welfare of the child, the presence of other family members in the life of the child, like if they're with one parent as opposed to the other, they're going to be around cousins and other sisters, brothers, stepsisters, and things like that. The home environment, schools, community, all these are important factors that the guardian ad litem or the child's attorney is going to look at to determine how they're going to recommend which parent should receive custody. So this segment was Divorce 101. If you have any questions generally about how to handle a divorce, please feel free to contact us for a free consultation at khk.law.